Imagine the moment when your life depends on someone you never expected. A stranger. A person invisible to the eyes of the world. That is exactly what happened when a street child, with a courage few adults would dare to show, decided to step in. Miguel, a man accustomed to the comfort and security of his world, had no idea his life would change completely that night. Danger was there, silent, lurking, but he couldn't imagine what was about to unfold. Have you ever thought about how often we ignore the people around us, underestimating the impact they can have? This story is a powerful reminder that heroes emerge where we least expect them. And more than that, it reveals how courage and kindness can transform not just one life, but two. Sophia always had a sharp intuition, something many would ignore or fear. That night, when she noticed something strange at the restaurant, her courage shone like a beacon. Even knowing that no one would believe her, she decided to warn Miguel. Imagine yourself in her place. Would you have such bravery? This kind of courage, born from the conviction to do what is right, is what turns small acts into great stories. It wasn't easy for Sophia. When she tried to talk to Miguel, she saw disbelief in his eyes. But instead of giving up, she persisted, knowing that truth doesn't need applause to exist. This stance is a powerful reminder. Even when people doubt you, keep moving forward. After all, as they say, the world doesn't change through opinions, but through actions. It's fascinating how small acts of sacrifice can alter the course of lives. Sophia could have chosen to stay silent and protect herself. Instead, she put Miguel's safety above her own fear. How many times do we fail to act because we think our role is too small? This story teaches us that even the smallest act of kindness can change destinies. When Miguel finally started connecting the dots, he realized the depth of Sophia's warning. Sometimes, one person's courage seems like exaggeration to another. It's like someone warning about a storm while others see only clear skies. How often in life do we ignore signs because we prefer to believe in the comfort of the moment? Courage also comes at a price. By facing the risk of being ignored, Sophia showed that bravery isn't the absence of fear, but the ability to act despite it. Have you ever thought about living with this philosophy? When something bothers you, or when you witness an injustice, do you act or remain silent? These are simple yet transformative reflections. In the end, Sophia's bravery uncovered hidden truths and saved Miguel from a danger he never even imagined. This connection between courage and sacrifice is a call to all of us. If something inside you says it's right, follow it, even if the world seems to move in the opposite direction. Sophia's story proves that great acts start with small decisions. Meanwhile, Miguel's doubt began to transform into something deeper. He started to see Sophia not just as a messenger of warning, but as a young woman whose life had something to teach. And here is where the plot shifts. What happens when the masks fall and the truth reveals itself to those trying to hide it? Amanda seemed to have everything under control. Charm, carefully chosen words, and a web of lies so skillfully woven that even Miguel believed her. But as they say, the truth moves swiftly, and at the right moment, it always comes to light. Her betrayal was a blow that almost shattered Miguel. It's interesting how, in life, those closest to us can become our greatest trials. When Miguel discovered the truth, it felt as if the ground had been pulled from beneath him. It's hard to describe what happens when someone we trust betrays us. But what defines people is not what happens to them, but how they choose to react. Miguel refused to let the pain of betrayal define his story. He used it as fuel to pursue justice. Miguel's quest for justice was more than a desire for retribution. He knew Amanda needed to be held accountable for her actions, but he also realized that to move forward, he would need to forgive, not for her sake, but for his own. How often do we remain trapped in resentment that only erodes our own peace? It's difficult, but it's essential. Amanda, on the other hand, was not as straightforward as she appeared. Her betrayal had roots in her own struggle for acceptance and fear of losing what was never truly hers. It's a reminder that behind every action lies a story. This doesn't excuse her behavior, but it helps us understand that redemption is possible even for those who have deeply erred. The confrontation between Miguel and Amanda was tense, almost like a chess match, where every word was a strategic move. However, Miguel chose not to repay betrayal with hatred. He took the harder but more liberating path, the path of rebuilding. After all, how can we build something new if we remain tied to the ruins of the past? For Amanda, redemption began the moment Miguel confronted her. Facing the consequences of her actions was like looking into a mirror and seeing not what she wanted, but who she truly was. Redemption is not a free pass to start over. It's a painful process of confronting one's own shadow and gradually finding light. And as Miguel began to forge a new path, Sophia's story reemerged as a reminder that, amidst so much pain and betrayal, acts of kindness still held transformative power. Here, the contrast between their worlds became even more evident. What happens when such distinct lives intersect? Miguel's world was built on comfort and privilege, a reality where problems always seemed to have solutions. Meanwhile, Sophia came from a completely opposite reality, where every day was a battle for survival. The contrast between them was so stark that, at first glance, it seemed impossible to find a connection. But, as life often surprises us, these differences became an unexpected bond. Sophia knew the harshness of the streets like no one else. For her, kindness wasn't a choice, it was a tool of resilience. While Miguel had access to anything he wanted, Sophia improvised solutions with the few resources she had. How often do we underestimate those who have less, not realizing they carry a wisdom forged in daily struggle? Miguel began to notice something fascinating. Despite having so much, he felt like something was missing. Sophia, on the other hand, with so little, seemed to possess an inner strength that intrigued him. This makes us question, what truly matters? Perhaps it's not about what we have, but what we do with what we have. While money can buy comfort, only experience can teach resilience. It wasn't just about financial differences, but perspectives on life. While Miguel worried about problems solvable with a phone call, Sophia faced dilemmas that demanded daily courage. Imagine seeing the world through her eyes, where every act of kindness could mean the difference between hope and despair. This clash of realities wasn't merely a divider but also a bridge. Miguel began to understand that justice wasn't just about correcting personal wrongs but about leveling opportunities. Sophia, in turn, learned that accepting help wasn't a sign of weakness but an act of courage. This mutual learning showed that even opposites could complement one another. Their relationship also prompts us to reflect on our own view of the world. How often do we judge someone by their appearance or circumstances without considering the story they carry? Sophia wasn't just a street child. She was an example of resilience, a reminder that true strength comes from within. Amid these contrasts, something unexpected emerged, a partnership that defied social norms and prejudices. While Miguel prepared to face the fallout from Amanda's betrayal, Sophia was ready to prove that, despite coming from different worlds, they both had something to teach each other. But how would this dynamic unfold in moments of mystery and tension? The restaurant, a seemingly tranquil place, became the stage for unexpected events. Miguel was there to handle important matters, but the atmosphere began to shift. A casual conversation here, a furtive glance there. The air seemed charged with something no one could quite explain. Mysteries are like that. They start small, like pieces of a puzzle, until they become impossible to ignore. Sophia noticed it first. Accustomed to observing the world with keen eyes, she picked up on suspicious movements that went unnoticed by others. Perhaps it was her survival instinct or simply the experience of someone who lives on the streets, where every detail can mean the difference between safety and danger. It makes us wonder, how often do we ignore the signs around us? The tension grew with each passing minute. Miguel, still skeptical of Sophia's warning, decided to investigate on his own. It was as if he were walking a tightrope, trying to balance between logic and instinct. Moments like these remind us that sometimes there's no room for hesitation. You have to act, even if the unknown is terrifying. As Miguel tried to make sense of the situation, an incident in the restaurant changed everything. A sharp sound echoed, making everyone turn at the same time. That's when the mysteries began to intertwine more clearly, and Sophia found herself at the center of something she hadn't anticipated. It's incredible how life sometimes places the right people in the right places, even if it seems otherwise. The most curious thing was how each person in the restaurant reacted differently to the tension. Miguel, used to controlling situations, was visibly uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Sophia, despite her youth, seemed to handle the chaos better. Perhaps because, for her, mystery and danger weren't novelties but an extension of her daily life. And what about you? How do you react when the unexpected knocks on your door? The mystery deepened when a man, previously unnoticed, dropped something on the floor, a piece of paper with an address. Miguel and Sophia exchanged a glance that spoke volumes without words. Was it an invitation or a trap? Moments like this are just like life. The signs are there, but it's up to us to decide how to interpret them and act. As the events unfolded, a darker truth began to emerge. It wasn't just about Miguel or Sophia, but something bigger, something that connected their lives in an unexpected way. The suspense, however, wasn't just about what was coming but about what they would do with what they discovered. The mystery opened the door to a new chapter: how to overcome adversity and transform it into strength. Sophia had a peculiar way of facing life. Every hardship was like a step toward something greater. While many succumbed to adversity, she turned it into fuel. After all, overcoming challenges isn't just about endurance, it's about finding purpose. Imagine yourself in her shoes. How would you react if the world insisted on testing your strength at every turn? Her journey began long before she met Miguel. Growing up on the streets taught her to see opportunities where others only saw obstacles. When most people saw danger in a dark alley, Sophia saw a chance to learn, to adapt. How many of us truly have that ability to turn difficulties into springboards? That skill is undoubtedly what separates those who live from those who merely survive. Meeting Miguel was a turning point. For the first time, someone looked beyond her outward appearance and saw potential. That's a powerful thing. The impact of someone believing in you. And here's a lesson: never underestimate what a gesture of encouragement can do. Have you thought about who around you might benefit from your words of support today? Sophia's growth wasn't just physical but emotional. Carrying the weight of abandonment and exclusion isn't easy. She had to learn to trust again, to believe that the world had something to offer. This process is universal. All of us, at some point, need to rebuild internal bridges we thought were destroyed forever. But Sophia's journey also teaches us that no one overcomes everything alone. Miguel, though lost in his own dilemmas, became an important pillar for her. This shows that even in the hardest moments, mutual support can create strengths we didn't know we had. Who stands by your side on bad days? Who can count on you? These are crucial questions in any journey. As Sophia grew emotionally, she began to inspire Miguel. Her strength and resilience were so evident that he started questioning himself. Why, with so much, was he doing so little? It's fascinating how people from such different contexts can be sources of mutual transformation. Sometimes, overcoming isn't just about conquering your challenges but helping others conquer theirs. However, overcoming adversity isn't an endpoint. It's the beginning of something new. Sophia still had much to face, but now she was armed with a strength that nothing could take away. And as Miguel pursued justice for his own traumas, their relationship became an example of how difficulties can unite the most unlikely people. But what would Miguel do with his thirst for justice? For Miguel, seeking justice wasn't just about righting wrongs. It was about restoring his own peace. Amanda's betrayal had shaken him deeply, and Sophia, with her courage, had become a mirror reflecting the values he thought he had lost. Justice, in this case, wasn't about revenge, it was about reckoning with the truth. After all, how far would you go to ensure the right thing prevails? Miguel knew Amanda needed to be held accountable, but he also understood the path wouldn't be easy. Justice is rarely a straight line. It demands patience, strategy, and, sometimes, sacrifice. He faced difficult choices: expose Amanda and risk harming others in the process, or seek a more delicate solution. Decisions like these remind us that doing the right thing isn't always the most obvious or straightforward option. Sophia, though unfamiliar with Miguel's sophisticated world, knew one thing: actions have consequences, and running from them is never the answer. She encouraged him to confront Amanda, but to do so ethically. It's an important lesson for anyone. Justice is only true when paired with integrity. There's no point in seeking the right if you compromise your values along the way. Amanda, in turn, began to realize that her castle of lies was crumbling. She tried to manipulate the situation, but the truth was relentless. This prompts reflection. How often do we try to justify our mistakes instead of facing them head-on? Justice isn't just an external force, it's also an internal process of acceptance and change. Miguel's fight for justice revealed something bigger than he expected. It wasn't just about correcting Amanda's wrongs but rethinking his own role in the world. He started to see that justice wasn't just an individual pursuit, it was about creating a balance that could benefit others, like Sophia. It's interesting how life's greatest lessons often emerge in its most turbulent moments. The consequences began to unfold, not only for Amanda but for everyone involved. Miguel realized that seeking justice also meant confronting his own shortcomings. Sophia, on the other hand, saw this process as an opportunity to learn something new about trust and responsibility. What happens when the pursuit of justice becomes a life lesson for everyone involved? As Miguel continued his fight, his bond with Sophia grew stronger. He saw in her an inspiration, a reminder that justice, to be complete, must include compassion. Together, they began to build something deeper, a shared vision of a world where acts of kindness and courage could change even the most difficult situations. But how would this newfound connection lead them to a fresh start? For Miguel, family had always been a concept tied to bloodlines and obligations. But Sophia brought an entirely new perspective. Family isn't about who is by your side by chance, but about those who choose to stay, even in the toughest times. Their relationship began to transcend initial barriers, showing that genuine bonds can emerge in the most unexpected places. Sophia, in turn, found something she had never experienced, a sense of belonging. For the first time, someone looked at her and saw beyond her appearance or circumstances. Miguel didn't see her as a street child but as a young woman with potential. This makes us reflect. How often do we ignore or underestimate someone simply because their story is different from ours? Their time together revealed not only challenges but also mutual lessons. Miguel realized that to offer Sophia something meaningful, he needed more than resources. He needed empathy and presence. Sophia, with her simple wisdom, taught him that acts of kindness require no conditions to exist. What a powerful lesson, isn't it? Their fresh start wasn't immediate but full of nuances. Miguel had to confront his own demons and let go of the past to truly welcome Sophia. As for her, resilient as she was, she had to learn to trust, to believe that someone genuinely wanted her well-being. Rebuilding lives, after all, is a process that demands patience and effort from both sides. Together, they began to chart a path that blended challenges with hope. Sophia, with her street-savvy experience, brought a unique perspective that helped Miguel navigate his insecurities. Miguel, with his resources and determination to make a difference, offered Sophia something she had never known: stability. It's amazing how we often give to others what we most need ourselves. This new relationship also connected them to something greater, the idea that family can be chosen. It didn't matter that their paths to that moment had been completely different. What mattered was that together, they were building something solid, based on trust, respect, and courage. Their story reminds us that it's always possible to start over, no matter how broken we feel. As Miguel and Sophia took their first steps into this new chapter, seeds of hope began to bloom. They became more than an example of overcoming adversity. They became a symbol of how, even amidst pain and uncertainty, it's possible to build something beautiful. But most importantly, they showed that we all have the power to change someone's life, and in doing so, change our own. And now that you've seen how courage, kindness, and justice can change destinies, the question remains: what will you do with this inspiration? How often do we hold back from acting out of fear or because we think our role is too small? Sophia and Miguel show us that every choice, no matter how small it seems, can be the beginning of something extraordinary. If you were in their place, what would you have done? Would you have the courage to face your fears? To see potential in others? These are questions that can transform your perspective and, perhaps, even your life. Because the first step toward change starts with the decision to act. Now, don't stop here. Subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep following stories like this, filled with lessons and emotions. After all, there's always something new to learn, something new to apply. And who knows? The next great story might just begin with you.